started recording. Oh, hey. Good morning. You made it. Nice to see you. Come on, sit down, please. Join me here. What? Oh, I don't care, sit right there if you like. You can sit over there. It's, this bay is your oyster. You can sit wherever you like, as long as you're enjoying it. Look at this place, would you? You can hear the morning birds. Some pelicans over there, can you see them? A couple. I think they're brolgers over there further. I'm actually not too sure if we have brolgers in this area, but it's possible. This is another one of these spots I like coming to in the mornings. That orange cloud time of day. And just like watching the clouds change colour. And listen to the birds go about their morning routines. It's very soothing. Would you like a warm cup of tea? Ooh. Might have made it a little bit too strong. As always, there's plenty of crows here. It's funny, I've travelled a lot around the world. Around this country. It doesn't seem to matter if it's plus 45 Celsius or minus 30 degrees Celsius. There always seems to be crows if there's food. Have you noticed the sand here? It's a little coarse. See that? You can hear how granular it is. Basically not quite sand, but more like small rock. good for the exfoliation of the feet. Of course, we're barefoot down here. It always reminds me of that song that you probably haven't heard of unless you hail from somewhere like Sycamoose, or what's the name of that other Canadian town? Obviously I've been away from Canada for too long. I love that place. It's beautiful. BC. That band was they got a bit of a following, I guess. I'm not really sure how big a following. They were certainly popular in that area. Affectionately, those birds we affectionately call the bin chicken. It's the ibis. That band, when I was Old Man's Beard, they had a song called Tofino. Don't know if you've heard of them or that song in particular, or even Tofino. Tofino is a surfing town on the northern end of Vancouver Island, off the coast of Vancouver, as it would be, on Canada's west coast. And because it's got such a surfing culture there, this band from inland Canada, inland BC, they wrote a song about it. And it's just got some, I think it has some very catchy lyrics. Some lyrics that really stuck with me in particular. Here we go, down the road to where we're from, I think. I don't know all the words. All I know is I love to feel the sand beneath. No, let me try that again. And all I know is I love to feel the sand between my toes, and the sun upon my face. Oh, oh. Anyway, that line in particular, this reminds me, of course, it was supposed to remind you of being at the beach, but any time I walk on the sand, run my toes through the sand, I remember that particular line. It's just such an upbeat song, you know. It's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. Read a statistic. There's something like 632,000 minutes of YouTube are watched around the world every minute. It's ridiculous. There's some equally insane number of minutes uploaded every minute. Hardly remember what we did before YouTube, before the internet, really. It's quite fascinating how much it's permeated into our lives, and how quickly. I think I was the last generation that had no internet in our youth. No mobile phones. Just sounding like an old fart now. I've come down to places like this without the laptop. Without anything really. It's a nice little bird. Calling for his mate. Maybe just warning other birds that I'm here. I read something like that the other day about birds, about all the small animals in the forest, how they protect themselves from predators. They mimic each other's call, their warning call when there's a predator in the region. Must have been in the jungles of Africa or something, this particular example. They said you don't need to be faster than the predator, you just need friends. Hey, I brought something to show you today. Of course, you knew I would. Have a look at this. You know what that is? Admittedly, I did buy this from a woodworking store. I did not source this myself from the forest. I'm always reluctant to do that. As you can see, I paid $22 for this. And just like the hue and pine, it was a long time ago, maybe not quite as long, maybe 2 years, 3 years ago. It says on there, Haristes. Not quite sure what sort of timber that is. I've never looked it up. I just imagined using it for like an alien planetscape. You can imagine how that might look. Some small figurines on here. But no, this is a burl. It's called a burl, or in British English it would be known as a burr. Obviously it's a piece of tree. Watch as I awkwardly stroke the textured surface on the stereo microphone, shifting from your left to your right, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But I always find them very fascinating. One thing you can always count on about Australia is the plethora, the quantity of birds. I unfortunately have not yet prepared this side of the burl to get maximum viewing pleasure from it, but you can begin to see the lights and darks and what it might offer when I decide what to do with it. I have, however, brought another piece for you to look at. Now, I don't know if you can see this one very well. But you can certainly hear the texture. It's rough cut. It was cut with a chainsaw, and then, well, I poured some resin over it to fill the gaps. Some blue resin. And then I put it through the thicknesser. Sounds a little of a childish name, but it's a machine that creates thickness. Hence, call it what it is. Anyway, we put it through the thicknesser, and reach a desired thickness. But that's not what we're talking about. What I want to show you is the grain that a burl will give you. Let's have a look. Let me just adjust this nozzle. There we go. There's the noise. Okay. Look at that. Can you see that? Dark red of jarrah. I have not extensively studied jarrah, but it is a hardwood from the west coast of Australia. Grows prevalently here. Very much used in older buildings, a favourite of firewood usage because it is so heavy and dense and burns hot and long. It's unfortunately been overexploited, much like many timbers, and now is becoming quite expensive and hard to find. in other parts of the country and world. But I don't think it's endangered just yet. What's that? What is a burl? What is a burl? I hear you ask. Glad you asked. Let me take another sip of tea. See these thick, grassy reeds here. What that sounds like? It sounds like an Aboriginal rain machine. Seen those? Long tubes sealed at both ends with sand inside. And when you tip them one way or another, the sand falls through. That makes a sound like rain, heavy rain. Let me see. Just going to move the mouse over here. Bring up this Wikipedia entry about the word burl. These two lovely pieces of timber, wood, that I have brought to show you today. What does it say? It says burl is the American English term and burr is the British English term. I prefer burl because burl doesn't have another meaning that I'm aware of. Burr, however, does. Burr, you get a burr on the edge of steel when you cut it, and it's that sharp little piece that might occasionally stick up and cut your fingers if you were to run your fingers along it. So burr has more than one meaning, so I, in this instance, prefer the American English. Burl, and I'll refer to it as burl from now on, is a tree growth in which the grain has grown in a deformed manner. It is commonly found in the form of a rounded outgrowth on a tree trunk or branch that is filled with small knots from dormant buds. Burl formation is typically a result of some form of stress, such as an injury or a viral or fungal infection that the tree has encountered or endured. Burls yield a very peculiar and highly figured wood, and this is quite sought after in woodworking. Some items may reach high prices on the wood market, and the poaching of burl specimens and damaging the trees in the process poses a problem in some areas. It's true, you might recognize mahogany burl if I was to show you, because it looks a lot like the jarrah burl, which is now drying off, and you can see the difference that a varnish finish would make to this particular piece. The mahogany burl, and that's why I chose this piece, as I was unable to procure a piece of mahogany, because that's usually taken up or purchased by car manufacturers such as Jaguar or Rolls-Royce. Many prestige brands for the veneer to make dashboard trimmings or any trimmings on the interior of the vehicle to give it that very stately, high-end appearance. I wanted to make some accessory pieces from the interior of my vehicle, which from factory were never made and therefore weren't available. And so I procured myself a piece of this Jarrah burl from a farmer north of Perth, and made my own speaker pods, as they were. And when I finished it and varnished it, it was a good match for the mahogany burl, which was in the vehicle of the time. The factory optioned dashboard trim panels, which I sourced from Japan, as they were never available in Australia. So yeah, burls don't grow on all kinds of trees, and I should maybe scroll down a little here and see what, they occur on plum trees, spruce, larch, cypress, redwood, Sitka spruce, palfow, sessile oak, many others also, no doubt. These are just the examples given on the Wikipedia page. But not all trees will grow these burls, and I'm not really sure why. But you'll see them if you look out for them. Large, wart-like growth. Sometimes it's in the roots. Sometimes it's halfway up the tree. It's very random. But I always look at them and I think, if I could just have a look inside to see what it's like. What's another great sound? It's the The ocean's just out that way. The open ocean. This is an inlet. I won't tell you which one. It'll spoil the mystery. These boulders over here, if you've noticed them, they're granite. Some of the oldest rock in the world, actually, from what I read. When the continental shelf of Australia and the Antarctic shelf, when they met. This is some of the magma or the molten rock of underneath the mantle that came up and interacted somehow with that. I don't know the peculiarities, particularities of it. Maybe I'll read up and tell you about it on a future video. I think I remember reading, I don't know, a billion years old, or 1.2 billion years old, or something in that range, not far west from here. But these days, these rocks are mainly used for birds to poop on. This lone pelican over here. Got sick of his mate, left her over that way, or him over that way. Just gonna sit here for a short time and listen to the sounds of nature, if that's okay with you. That's the ocean you can hear, that rumbling, that constant white noise in the background. It's about 7 kilometers from here. Of sand in the mouthpiece. Excuse me. I find when you just sit peacefully and not make a noise, nature just comes to you in these parts. You're falling asleep. It's fair enough. It is pretty relaxing. Really should invest in a higher quality camera than this one, so you can really appreciate the more of the details of this stunning place. Probably a worthwhile purchase, isn't it? Let me know if you think the quality of the video is good enough. I can upgrade your eyes, your YouTube eyes. I'm thinking about going back home now and getting some breakfast. Sitting out in my garden and watching our pigeons. They're just wild pigeons, but they kind of took a liking to our garden, my garden. So every day they sleep under the trees, bathe in the little bird bath that's out there. And I often sit there and just watch them go about their business, pecking at the ground like chickens. Well, it was really nice of you to come down today and meet with me here. I know you can't always make it, neither can I. when we do get together on these occasions. It's always really cool, you know. I'm glad for the company. Alright. Better go. See you at the next outing.